What is up, everybody? I am Ralph Sutton, and you're listening to Brutally Delicious with Bruce Moore. Put down that fork.
Thanks for joining me. Sorry about the mess up.
Oh, please, it's fine. Technology these days is what it is.
It's crazy because we rely on it so much, and then I have days where I had a whole day of podcasting because we do it once a month usually, and I had a whole I had a whole day of podcasting like about a month ago, and we had that ripping storm that came through and took out all the internet and the power, and I just had to cancel everything because we're at the mercy of Comcast or whoever you have.
Crazy. Yeah,
anyway,
it is a crazy time that is weird.
But we're so reliant on it now, right? More so now than ever, I think.
Well, the good news is that most of what you and I do would never be possible two decades ago. So I even look at like when I started radio, I was when I started my radio show, I came in, they told me if you could get like sweepers and bumpers made and blah, 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 then we could talk about it. And they were this archaic radio station that was still using reel-to-reel to edit calls and stuff.
Right.
And I was a computer guy. So I came in with like 50 sweepers because I just taught myself audio editing on Adobe Audition, which was in its infancy at the time.
Right.
But they're like, how the fuck did you do this? Like, why? It's not that difficult. They just thought, you didn't lease production time. You didn't do that. How the fuck did you do it? I just figured it out on a computer.
Right.
So that's what's great about technology. It opens the world up to everybody.
Yeah, you're right. It's fair playing field. I guess that's a fair point. Anyway, how are you, man? You're up to so many things all at once. How do you keep up with everything and keep your focus?
What's funny is that unfortunately we're cutting out. I think that your video's cutting out a little bit. Can you see me still?
Yeah, perfect.
Your video went out for a second. Okay, no worries. Well, what I do, honestly, it sounds so goofy, but I've been doing this for most of my adult life. The first thing I do in the morning is I rewrite my to-do list in the order that I feel I can get it accomplished. Meaning, like, there are certain things that have been on there for an awfully long time.
Right.
But it's still on my to-do list. So that eventually it gets to a point where I'm sick. I get sick of looking at it, so I'll get that done, But by rewriting it, I feel, especially as an older dude, the tactile thing of writing it sears it into your brain, and that's how every single morning, it's the first thing I do is I rewrite my to-do list.
So you're a list guy. Let me ask you a question and be honest. Do you ever put something on your list that you've already done so you can cross it off?
No, I've never done that. Not intentionally. There's been a couple, like I just saw, I have for the network, I have like this master list of Ralph's problems with the network. And I did put like 2 or 3 things on the list. When I came into the studio this morning, I saw that they had been done, but it wasn't intentional. Like somebody actually just did them without me telling them, which is very rare.
Because to me, like a list is sort of not only a reminder, but a sense of accomplishment for the day. And I'll be honest, I have put some stuff on there that I've done just to cross it off. So at the end of the day, I can go, shit, look at all I've done. And that sounds weird maybe, but it is what it is.
Yeah, there is. It's part of game theory, in that those medals or those accomplishments, they help us to give us a little endorphin rush, that crossing off something on a list or the like on a Facebook post, whatever it is, or the retweets, all that is an endorphin rush. So by being able to cross something off your list, it makes you feel better. There was that story, it was in the book Freakonomics, where a guy would just take a pebble and move it from one jar to another when he made a sales call. And the thought of getting all those pebbles from A to B by the end of the day became a game to him, and he became the number one salesman in the office just for that stupid little tweak.
That's really interesting. So how do you go about like prepping for all these shows? Because I'm looking at all the Good Sugar podcast, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, on top of being, the head of the network there. How do you keep up with all that? Besides your lists and all that stuff and getting up in the morning and prioritizing, you've got to be extremely focused, right?
Well, I think it started that what have made a big difference, I think this year, COVID helped a lot. And I think that helped. A lot of people could look at it as, some people went the path of, well, now's the time to do every drug on the planet and not worry about life. And I took it as, okay, now's the time that I can just focus on things that I want to focus on because the offices had to be closed down, whatever it was. So I could start just really cutting out the clutter, So I started to do things for me. I lost 60 pounds. I run 25 miles a week. I work out 3 days a week, which I never was doing before. And it allowed me to start setting up routines to further instill good habits. There's a great book I recommend called Atomic Habits, where if you're basically the concept is if you're already doing something like, every morning you start with a cup of coffee, you make yourself a cup of coffee.
Right.
You're doing that anyway. So if you tag into, okay, when I drink that cup of coffee, I'm going to prep my show. Then it becomes eventually instinctual. When you drink the coffee, you prep the show. So you're knocking two things off in a way, because one of them you're doing already anyway, and you just kind of pair them up. So that's how I do. Like, I know I have to do a minimum of 3 episodes a week for myself. That's a minimum, which is 2 SDRs, 1 good sugar. All right. And I have a calendar. I'm booked out for at least a month in advance at any given time. And I know, okay, I got to prep these 3 shows. Ideally, I prep all 3 of them on a Monday, and then I don't have to think about it again for the rest of the week because those shows are done. It takes a few hours for each one. If I could bang out all 3 on Monday, perfect. If not, I still have the rest of the week to get at least, only get one of them done. I have the rest of the week. Tonight, we're taping with the Broken Lizard guys. They did Beer Fest, and they did a couple other great movies, and they have Tacoma FD right now. Mm-hmm. So I did that prep work, all their prep work Monday, along with the 2 other shows that are on this week. And then today, I just looked at it and said, okay, read everything I wrote, put it in the order that made sense for me, that I think will be a great path for the show, and I'm done. So it only seems overwhelming unless you kind of like organize it. And by the way, I was listening to your recent episode with the band Tempt, and I think they're going to be on my show in a month. There's like a cool young band that's doing like 80s rock vibes. I give them credit. Very Def Leppard-ish, very, but it's really good. And I like it because it's fun rock and roll, and it's not, you don't really have to think about anything. It can take you away from all this nonsense that we're in. Like the age, I don't know. Right. I don't know where you're at, but, my age group, I grew up in the 80s, and that's what music was about. Nothing but a good time, to quote Poison or whatever. So, yeah, that's, it's an escape, and I love it. Yeah, of course. And it's very well produced. I think we're roughly the same age. Yeah, we're roughly the same age. So. Yeah. So I graduated high school in like 1985. So mine is 87. Okay, yeah, so right about the same time. So you grew up with the Sunset Strip and all that big, well-produced fun stuff. Yeah. So I had a radio show that was on about 100 stations called The Tour Bus. I did that for 18 years, and that was from 1999 to about 2015 or so, 16, something like that. And all of that was just paying homage to all that great rock and roll stuff. That Guns N' Roses, Poison, etc. Yep. Hey, you grew up in New York? Yeah, Brooklyn, and then moved to Manhattan when I graduated. So I grew up in Valley Stream, Long Island. And so did you listen to WSOU then, the pirate radio? Because that's all we had back then. Yeah. WSOU. I was on WDHA. I used to go to the Spit and Hot Rocks and all those clubs out in Long Island. Yep. Yeah, I was a big fan of all that stuff. I saw Extreme perform at Hot Rocks. They did like an acoustic set there. And I'll never forget, as I was walking in, Steve Vai was walking out. I don't know why he was there. And I gave him a high five. And it was like a highlight of my life when I was 18 years old. So did you grow up going to Lemoore then? Yeah, I actually ran I ran Lemoore for a while. Oh, wow. The one in Brooklyn. Yeah. And I had a rock club that I did called, it was called Christopher's, which was in Brooklyn every Thursday night. I did for a while. I had my company was called Monkey Business, and we did Thursdays at a place called Christopher's, Fridays at Lemoore, Saturdays were World Stage Upstate, and then Sundays was Limelight, and I was the promoter and DJ at those 4 clubs for a very long time. Interesting. So we've crossed paths because I grew up at Lemoore. That was the, seeing Overkill when they were Nobody and Anthrax. They were like almost weekly bands. I saw Warlock's first show. Warlock's first show in America I saw at Lemoore. Wow. Crazy. I know I'm taking you down a long road, but I like to talk, so. That's fine. I saw that we also have another thing in common besides rock is we're both food people. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I went to cooking school for a year, and I ran a restaurant for 4 years.
Wow, you're around. Yeah, I haven't gone that far. I've done a couple of cookbooks with recipes from musicians or whatever, and I'm a hack in the kitchen, no formal training, but sometimes that's the best, right? Self-taught.
No, I agree. Yeah, I actually had a show for the Food Network. We only shot the pilot, but we did get like very close to being greenlit on the Food Network, and it was called Recipes That Rock, where I went to a rock star's house and we cooked their favorite meal, and then the fans of that band got to watch them play live and then eat the meal.
That's beautiful.
So it was like they'd eat, like we shot one with Corey Glover of Living Color, and he made his macaroni and cheese, and then we went and they did an acoustic set while their fans were eating macaroni and cheese. It was a fun episode. The tagline was "Food never sounded so good," and it was great. And then instead of us, they took Ace of Cakes. Those motherfuckers.
I don't know if you've seen it, but I have prior to the COVID, I had people come when they came to Richmond. They would just stop their tour buses here and then cook their favorite recipe in my kitchen, and we would just talk about what the new album of the tour or whatever. So we've had a whole bunch of people in here just cooking grandma's lima bean stew while we're talking about the new record in my kitchen, and it was kind of fun. But COVID fucked everything up. So here we are.
COVID definitely fucked everything up.
How do you guys go in to the SDR with a sort of theme? Because I kind of just listened to the one with the bee beards that Jamie sent over, and man, I was laughing my ass off. But is that like sort of a planned
Which
theme?
one?
The
Which one?
The bee beards. Hold on.
Bee beards.
Yeah, just listen.
I'm trying to think what that is.
Didn't I just listen to an episode where the guy, the exposure therapy, and then he had the bees on his face?
Oh, we didn't do. We were talking about it, but we didn't do that. No, we were talking to somebody about that.
Yeah,
we hadn't done it, right?
You're right, but it was an exposure kind of thing, right, where they were exposed to snakes or whatever. Not on the show, but that's what the topic was, right?
Yeah.
That had me laughing hysterically. Is that like?
About that.
No, that's fine. Do you guys have a theme when you go in, or a plan, or is it kind of?
Well, the biggest plan I have on SDR is that I try to, and I hate, it sounds so hacky when I say this, but there's a reason why. When let's say you said you were going to be a chef, right? No one will say to you, "Oh, like Gordon Ramsay." They'll just say, "Oh, cool."
Right.
And if you say you're going to be a director, they don't say like, "Oh, Quentin Tarantino." They just say, "Cool." But if you say you're going to do a radio show or a podcast and there's going to be hot girls and there's going to be rock and roll and blah, 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 people will say, "Oh, like Howard Stern. Right? So that is an evident of how omnipresent that man has been. Right. And so that just is what it is. So what I always loved about it growing up was that you never knew what you were going to get. Is it going to be a band playing live? Is it going to be something really funny? Is it going to be girls doing something crazy? Is it going to be a really serious interview? You knew you'd enjoy it, but you didn't know what was going to happen, right? So I purposefully try to not book too many like-kind guests in a row. So we might do 2 rock stars, week A, week B, then 2 comics, show A, show B, then 2 like funny shows or 2 sexy shows. I don't try to be too much of any one thing. That's the only real plan, right? Other than that, you do your research, you kind of map out how the show's going to go, but I find that you shouldn't plan too much. The analogy I've given so many times is that people don't listen to their interviewee. They just have their questions set up and they don't even let you breathe. So I try to, I have some things I'd love to do, but maybe we don't go there. Maybe they give you gold and you're going off in a different direction.
Right. So I think in the past, I've done interviews for magazines and for other things, and I've probably been guilty of that because you've prepped all week and you've got these questions. And I think as a young interviewer or whatever, or a novice, maybe not young, but I've got to get this shit in, or I've got to ask this, and this. But you're right. If you just kind of play off each other, sometimes you end up down a road you never even thought you'd be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what the analogy I give, I don't want to say the person, but I was listening to someone do an interview and I was on the radio on the way home with someone I really wanted to hear. And he asked an opening question and the interviewee gave a very funny sexual response where he was showing, let's have fun. Right. And then the interviewer's response was, "Oh, okay. So who produced," like straight, like didn't even acknowledge it because he had his list of questions and that was it. I was like, what are you doing? The guy wants to have fun with you and you're basically shooting him down.
And that's sort of an odd thing too, right? Because you have to be able to read them. And I'm sure you're probably better at than I am, but because there are some people that are just straight business, right? I'm sure you came across it that just want to get their stuff out and be done and don't want to goof or have a good time.
Right. I agree. And then the other thing is you never know really, unless you've known the person already or you've interviewed them before, there's no way to know. And even with people that maybe you've interviewed before, they might just be having a bad day. So you have to kind of figure it out while you're going. There are some times where I have questions. I'm like, I'll ask this question if he's in a good mood or if it seems like he wants to have fun. I can't start with that question, like things like that, or you figure it out, or else you're going to start off on a bad note. So it is a lot of ebb and flow while you're going to try and figure out what you can get away with.
Right. What do you have planned, or what is in your next to do? You have other things going
right now. So for it's different things for different. Like right now, SDR has a pretty full calendar till the end of October. So like as I said tonight, we're doing a live episode. I don't know when this comes out, so I apologize not to pull back the fourth wall too much. But the Broken Lizard guys, and then we have Carrot Top on, which is going to be fun. Toad the Wet Sprocket's coming in. Ron Funches is coming in. Robbie Krieger from The Doors, like a really good lineup. Right. And then we're doing an OnlyFans night where we're going to judge OnlyFans girls to see who is the best at getting guys to think that they like her, which is funny. We do dumb shit like that every once in a while. And then on Good Sugar, we have 4 different, we don't do as many interviews on Good Sugar, but we have a couple of different people that are a yoga expert, a health expert. And because a lot of Good Sugar is about me trying to become a better person and to become healthier and to become happier. That's the focus of Good Sugar. So those things are kind of like always happening, right? Gas Digital, which is our network, I just announced this. We are launching a new show with Zach Wilde. He's going to be doing a podcast on the network, which I'm really thrilled. We just had a great episode that came out a couple days ago. It was me and my co-host Big J Okerson with Zach Wilde and JD from Black Label, and then Carmine Appice from Rod Stewart,
Vanilla Fudge,
Cactus, all in the studio together. It was a really, really fun episode. And on that episode, we announced that Zach's going to be doing a podcast on my network, which is called Gas Digital. We have about 21 shows, get a few million listeners a week across the network. And that takes up the bulk of my time, trying to make sure that all 21 shows are always happy,
Right. So let me get back to Good Sugar real quick. Did you ever imagine that you'd be on that sort of journey? I know you said the pandemic sort of set that off. Did you ever imagine you'd be?
It's funny. I try to avoid the term journey because it's such a hacky term, and I agree with you. It is true, but it does seem like no. I get it. I say it, but then I get shit on for it, so I try not to. But yeah, I knew. So I helped build. There's a brand here in New York City it's omnipresent in the raw vegan food space called Juice Press, and I helped build that company a few years ago. The owner is a friend of mine, and then he sold the company, and he's who I do the show with, right? And it just kind of happened accidentally, but due to my background there and me knowing I got really fat, that it was a nice diversion or just a way to think about something different, and that's what I like doing. And also really trying to force yourself to have accountability is what I think was the best part about it. Having to do the show every week and say, did you go run? Did you meditate? Did you eat right? And I try never to lie to the best of my ability. Sometimes I may fuck up the truth and make up a mistake or whatever, but I try never to lie. So if I didn't run, I'm going to tell you I didn't run. If I ate like shit, I'm going to tell you, like last night, I had ice cream. I was in a bad mood. I had ice cream. I have not been able to separate myself and my emotions from food. I don't know why, but that's one of the things I've been struggling with. So I think it's a great thing. And I think a lot of people have been happy to see my foil, trials and tribulations, because it makes them realize that they're not alone. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And I think it's cool, too, because it's not just you're eating and you're losing weight. You've got, like you said, the yoga practice and the meditation. And it's like a full comprehensive, I don't want to use the word journey again, but evolution of yourself.
Yeah,
is that better?
And it started with my co-host, Marcus, asked me one day, on a scale from 1 to 10, how happy are you? And this was like off air. I said, maybe a 5, maybe a 6, but 5 or 6. And he goes, well, that's not great. That's not even a passing grade. I'm like, yeah, I guess not. Because at the time, it was a year and a half ago. I mean, I guess now, right before the pandemic started, I was 60, 70 pounds overweight. I was, tired. I was miserable and whatever. I just wasn't, I had some bouts of happiness. But now, a year and a half later, it's amazing how much I was attached. That once I stopped carrying around like a small child, which is basically what that was, at 60 pounds of weight, and you start having more energy again, you start feeling like you can, you're sleeping better. So many things were tied to that. And, there's also that concept of fake it till you make it. Like if you keep pretending to be in a good mood, eventually it starts to actually happen.
Right. It's funny you said they're 50, 60 pounds, because if you think about it, like I buy those bags of dog food and they're 50 pounds and they're so fucking big. And that's what we're talking about. That's
Imagine
quite
carrying that all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and then you wonder why your lower back hurts, why you're always tired, why you're irritable, so, and most of us, me, I know it was tied to my father passed away and was having struggles at the job and whatever, at the business. And for me, it was coming out in food. I was eating garbage and what it was. And then eventually, the whole concept of micro changes. So I was like, if I'm not doing any push-ups, let me start with 1. I can do 1 push-up if I'm not doing none. And if I'm eating a 10-ounce steak, let me go with an 8-ounce steak. Let me just make these little changes. And I started feeling a little bit better. And then I was like, all right, let's do a little bit more. Let's do a little bit more. And I had never run in my life. And then a year and a half ago, last April, so not this past April, the April before, I downloaded an app called Couch to a 5K.
Oh, yeah.
5K, which, your fat ass is on a couch will get you to run a 5K. And now this Saturday, I'm running my 3rd half marathon, which is crazy.
Great. Yeah, that's beautiful. Good for you. Yeah. That's really inspirational.
Yeah, and it comes from little changes. And what I love to see is now my brother started running again. 3 or 4 of my friends are running again. I've gotten tons of people who have hit me up on Instagram saying, I started cycling, I started the Peloton, I started this, because I posted every day whatever I'm doing, because I slept like crap, but I still got up and ran. Or I was doing SDR last night. We got drunk till 3 a.m. and I still got up and did weights or whatever it is, to just say that, look, we all go through it. It's just get up and do it. Maybe it wasn't the best time. Maybe I didn't lift the best weights, but I just got out there and did it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And it keeps you accountable too, maybe somewhat.
Yeah. I know it's not a logical answer to tell everyone start a health and wellness podcast, but it definitely helped me by knowing I'm going to have to talk about it and see what's going on. Definitely helped me. And maybe it's not a podcast. Maybe you and your best friend are going to start taking yoga classes together. And every day, did you do it, dude? Yeah, I did it. Did you do it? Yeah, I did it. Just having that extra accountability. One of my friends, he just sends me his post-workout picture every day. And if he doesn't send it, I'm like, dude, where's the fucking picture?
Right.
And then an hour or 2 later, I'll get the picture. It's like, I did it. I wasn't going to do it, but you texted me, so I did it.
Right. You guilted him into it, but he got out and moved. So that's great.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Ralph, that is all I've got. That was a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thanks. And I realized your shows, I looked online, are nice and short. Makes it easier. You
know what? Yeah. And I did it because, we could keep these going forever, and I could talk to you forever, but most people I found, and I'm sure you see this, the attention span is like that of a gnat. And when I went over,
and also the most listened to podcast is about 25, 30 minutes, 40 minutes in that zone, because that's the general commute for work. So that's why people do that.
Maybe it's live. Maybe live it's different because you got a different vibe. But since they're recorded, I have found the ones that go over like right in what you said, anything over like 20, 25 minutes, the listenership goes down pretty quickly. So anyway.
Yeah, I get it. Believe me.
I appreciate you,
my friend.
Yes, I appreciate you taking the time. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you, my friend. Hopefully we'll cross paths again, because that was a great conversation. And we seem to run in the same circles. Have a great day. Take care, my friend.
Yeah, for sure.
Bye now.
I'll be good.
All right, bye.